The Oort Perimeter, Chapter 4. Martin studied her sensor display intently. We're gaining on the object. Range, 5,000 kilometers and closing, she said. What do you see? Asked Eric. Martin shook her head. Not much. I still can't be sure what we're looking at, but my gut is still telling me it's a ship. I just wish we could see it better so I could be certain. Sarah, can you fine-tune the sensors to filter out all background noise and increase the resolution? Asked Eric. Adjustments made. Try again, replied Sarah over the intercom. Martin muttered in frustration. Nope, that didn't help much. If that's a cloak ship, they've got one of the best devices I've ever seen. Even our best cloaking shields don't do this well under this level of scrutiny. Martin, can you mux an image out of that sensor data and pipe it to my console? Asked Pendleton. Martin shrugged. Yeah, I can do that. It won't be pretty, but here you go, she said. She then gestured lightly across her console, transferring the results to Pendleton's navigational console. He soon turned around and looked at his display. Based on what he was seeing, Martin wasn't all that far off. The image he was seeing was definitely odd. That thing looks like, he said as his voice trailed off. Just then, Pendleton perked up. Eric immediately picked up on this. See something, Joel? Pendleton nodded slowly. Martin stood up and looked over Pendleton's shoulder at his console. What are you seeing? She asked. Look at these lines here, and this bump here. What do you see? Asked Pendleton. Martin nodded, and then suddenly realized what she was seeing. Joel, I could almost kiss you, she said with a hint of glee. Pendleton cocked an eyebrow as he turned in his chair to look at her. Almost, he replied. Martin slapped him playfully on the shoulder as she sat down. As her fingers flew across her console, Sidney turned his attention towards her. You found something interesting, I take it, he said. It's definitely a ship we're looking at. But I don't think it's one we've ever seen before. I'm working up an overlay image so you can get an idea of what I think it looks like. Just give me a minute, said Martin. After a bit she stopped her work and then sent the resulting image to everyone's consoles. Barker perked up in curiosity upon seeing this. What the heck is that? The Crayola monster or something? He cried. No, it's a ship. And a fast one I'd wager, said Sidney. So what should we do? I know we're going on limited information here, but if that's actually a ship, I doubt it's here just to sightsee, said Pendleton. Agreed. Of course, that still assumes we're not seeing something as innocent as a sensor echo, said Eric. I'd be willing to take a chance on that being a ship. If I'm wrong, we'll know something's not right with the sensors, and that they'll need to be fixed. But if I'm right, we've got an intruder to stop before they do something bad to Earth. Agreed. Joel, continue tracking the target until we can get a better ID on them. Pendleton nodded. He then turned around in his chair and watched the image for several moments on his main display, and then noticed something. Oh. I think they've seen us. They're jigging, said Pendleton. Stay with them, Lieutenant, said Eric. Already on it, sir. The Sergenius rolled out and banked hard as the unknown object appeared to be trying to shake off its pursuers. I think we can all now agree that's a ship, said Pendleton. You've got no argument from me. From now on we're treating this as a hostile until further notice, said Eric. All right, you little tramp, let's see what you've got, said Pendleton to himself. He continued following the ship, matching it move for move until it soon settled down and resumed course. After several minutes it attempted to shake them again, but Pendleton stayed with them, matching them turn for turn as he maneuvered the Sergenius like a high-performance fighter. After the third such attempt to shake them, Pendleton suddenly realized something. Martin, is that ship barking IDF? He asked. Martin looked over her sensor displays and shook her head. Nope. Nothing, she replied. Pendleton frowned. Well, we are. And if they've learned how to detect and read our IDF, then they're on to us already, he said. Eric perked up curiously. That might explain their sudden interest in shaking us, he replied. Well, regardless if they can see us or not, if they're tracking our IDF, we may as well hang a huge neon sign on the bow advertising our position. Sydney turned to Eric and said, Joel has a point. I recommend we shut it down. At least for the moment. Eric thought about this briefly, and then nodded. All right, shutting down IDF. Let's see if they can see us now. Tension on the bridge grew unbearably thick for several moments as they all waited in anticipation for the next move by the unknown intruders. After several minutes, Eric said, Anything yet? Negative, sir. They're stopping, said Pendleton. Continue matching their movements, Joel. On it. Sydney looked out the front window for a few moments, and then back at Eric. What do you think they're doing? He asked. Likely checking their shadow again. Since we're no longer barking IDF, they may be looking to see if we're still here. It's an old submariner's trick. Periodically they would either turn or come to a full stop to see if somebody was tailing them. They're likely doing the same thing with us. Everyone waited silently on the bridge for several moments. Eventually something happened. They're on the move again and changing course, said Martin. Heading? Asked Eric. I can't tell for certain, but if my guess is right, they're heading for the Kuiper Perimeter. Looks like they plan to cross at access point 716. Eric grunted. Well, we need to make sure that doesn't happen, he said. He opened a communications channel and said, Gate Command, this is Sir Genius. Priority 1 intruder alert. Seal the Kuiper Perimeter and go to defense level 1. Sir Genius, this is Gate Command. What is your authorization? Came the reply. This is Commander Eric Rogers, Captain of the Sir Genius, speaking on behalf of Grand Admiral Clayton. Seal the perimeter. That's an order. Martin looked at Eric in surprise. You can't do that, sir. You don't have authorization to speak for the Admiral. Eric muted the communicator and said, There's no telling what might happen if that ship gets through. If we contain them out here, we've got a better chance of figuring out who they are, and possibly stopping them before they have a chance to do any harm. But you'll be court-martialed when the Admiral finds out. I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. Right now, the security and safety of Earth is more important than my career. Incoming message from Gate Command, said Sarah. Eric unmuted the communicator and said, Gate Command, what is your status? We checked with Admiral Bofenheiser, and he's confirmed your request for sealing the perimeter. Well? Get on it. We've got an intruder that's about to penetrate the perimeter in less than 4 minutes. They're heading for Gate 716, so you'll need to seal that one first, as well as any others nearby. Aye, sir. Beginning lockdown sequence now, came the reply. Confirming that access point 716 has been sealed. Detecting course correction by intruder. They're making a run for Gate 723, said Martin. Eric swore. Joel, climb all over him. Get cozy with that ship and don't let him get away, he said. Aye, sir. The Sir Genius accelerated forward like a pistol shot and quickly overtook the cloaked intruder, her sublight engines briefly pushing the ship to near light speed in the attempt. Sydney, drop cloaking and go to full combat mode. Let's introduce ourselves the Earthfleet way, said Eric. Aye. Mike studied the 3 Syrian diplomats as they examined their surroundings. What is that soft noise we hear coming from the walls? It almost sounds like music, said one of the diplomats. It is music. We play a variety of songs at nearly inaudible levels as a way to help our crews work more efficiently, and with less stress. It's like a massage for the subconscious mind, said Nordum. Massage? We do not know this word. Nordum smiled. It's a human technique used to loosen stiff muscles and help a person relax. It's quite an enjoyable experience. The Syrian diplomat was intrigued at this. Interesting. Grand Admiral, if it is not a breach of your security protocols, may I inquire why you choose to cloak all of your ships and space stations whenever they are near either your home world, or one of their primitive space vehicles? Mike looked at him curiously. You know about that? He asked. The Syrian nodded. Your people are a major subject of interest among mine. Information such as this is highly prized. Well, you're correct about the cloaking procedure. We do that as a way to protect the people of Earth from our technology. It was the driving force that originally spawned our stealth program. Well, besides the other obvious defensive reasons. The Syrian diplomat cocked his head curiously. I do not understand. Why shield your own people from the wonders of your vast and wonderful technology? Because they're not ready for it. It's too advanced for them. One of the things we learned early on was that too much technology, too fast, can damage a culture irreparably and interfere with its natural progression. The social ramifications and chaos we've seen occur from the introduction of even the simplest technologies into a culture that is not ready for them is devastating. On a global scale, the effect would be greatly magnified. That's why we don't introduce any of our technology to them until they're ready for it, and certainly not all of it at once. It's true that we are working to quickly bring our people on Earth up to the same technological level as we enjoy, but that takes time. Eventually, though, they'll reach a point where we'll be able to make formal first contact with them. The Syrian diplomat eyed Mike curiously. You say that as though they are a separate society apart from yourselves. Mike nodded. They are, in many ways. While we're of the same genetic heritage, time, and our differing viewpoints on life, have sent us in different directions. This is because some humans are satisfied with life as it is, stubbornly refusing to adapt or change unless absolutely forced to, while others, like ourselves, desire to stretch the bounds of science, discover the unknown, and go to the ends of the universe to explore the impossible. They, on the other hand, are less willing to push themselves to such extremes. Thus, we keep them at arm's length to protect them. We have a similar story to you as well. It took us many ages to overcome that. But, in the end, we achieved a comfortable balance of the new and the old that all can live with. Getting there, however, is always the most difficult challenge. But, once you are there, you wonder why you didn't arrive sooner, said one of the diplomats. Just then, Mike's communicator chirped. He considered ignoring it, but the attention tone told him that it was something important that he needed to deal with. He excused himself and then stepped to the side for a brief moment of privacy. Clayton, go ahead, he said, tapping his ear. Grand Admiral, this is Admiral Osaka. Your presence is requested on the conference deck, sir, came a voice over the communicator. I'm in the middle of a diplomatic meeting, Admiral. Can this wait? I wouldn't have called you if this wasn't important, sir. Mike sighed. All right, what is it? A passenger on the freighter to AK is requesting to speak with you, sir. Mike furrowed his brow curiously. You called me on a high-priority channel at a time like this because a freighter passenger wanted to speak with me? No, sir, I contacted you because of who the passenger is, not how he arrived here. Well? Who is it? It's Adjutant President Sin of the Gayak Vaughn, sir. Mike blinked in curiosity. The Adjutant President? He arrived on a freighter? Apparently so, sir. What's he doing here? I don't know, sir, but he wants to speak with you. He says it's urgent. All right, I'll be there shortly. Make sure he's well guarded while he's here. Aye, sir, I already have. Mike then turned to Nordum and said, Sir, with your permission, I need to leave. Something important just came up. The Syrian diplomat bowed slightly and said, We understand that a man of your position has many great and important responsibilities. Therefore, we will not be offended by your untimely departure. Nordum cocked an eyebrow in surprise at the Syrian diplomats. They don't waste time taking charge, do they? He thought. Admiral, if it's important, you're excused. Just be sure to come back as soon as you're done, he replied. Aye, sir. Pendleton rolled the Sir Genius over and pulled up hard and fast as the intruder scrambled desperately to shake them. Watch out, Pendleton. He's heading for the outer debris field, shouted Martin. Pendleton swore. Get back here, you slippery little twit, he muttered angrily. "Sydney, do you have a weapons lock?" asked Eric. "Not yet. The signal's not strong enough." "Sir, let Corporal win and I have a crack at it," said Barker. "All right, go for it," replied Eric. A moment later the fluidic armor on the ship rippled slightly and then began to move like a cloud of liquid midnight to allow several dozen turrets of various types to rise up from the inner hull. As soon as they finished deploying, the armor immediately flowed back into place around them and solidified again. When all was done, the once smooth, sleek silhouette of the ship now bristled with firepower. "Barker, when all turrets are deployed, and at your control." "You are weapons free," said Sydney. "All right, Corporal, let's smoke this puppy," said Barker. When nodded, and then concentrated on his tactical display, quickly pressing several configuration buttons in an effort to isolate his target. But he was getting nowhere. "I can't see anything, Sarge." "You got something?" he said. Barker shook his head. "Martin, patch as much sensor information as you can through to their tactical displays. Give them something to shoot at. Sarah, try to formulate the sensor data into a more coherent target," said Eric. "Data patched through," replied Martin. "Targets formulated." "I can't do much more than that." "You'll have to make do with what little there is," said Sarah. Barker grunted. "It's not a lot, but it'll do." Moments later a hail of energy pulses sprayed from each of the many turrets spread out across her hull like a stream of angry bees. This caused the intruder to roll out hard and dive down into the thin field of rocky debris that hovered just above the Kuiper perimeter in an effort to get away. Rocks and scattered comet fragments exploded in brilliant flashes of light and fire as round after round poured out from the Sir Genius in brilliant, sparkling waves of death and destruction. The intruder zigzagged frantically back and forth through the debris field in a desperate attempt to shield itself from the relentless barrage of fire coming from the Sir Genius. But the gunners tracked them mercilessly as Pendleton stayed on top of them like butter on bread. "Sir, reporting 4 Nova-class battleships and 2 Sir Genius-class ship killers approaching from 71.13 and 27.169. They're coming to assist," said Martin. "I'm switching on IDF so that they don't accidentally shoot us," said Eric. Realizing it was quickly being hedged in, the intruder dove in close to the Kuiper perimeter, and then pulled up hard. It then made several erratic moves through the debris field before doubling back on itself, passing the Sir Genius as it did. Pendleton swore and immediately did a hard 180, throwing the ship around in a lazy arc as though drifting a sports car, before punching the engines to full power in order to catch up. The intruder, in turn, made several more maneuvers and quickly put a sizable distance between itself and the Sir Genius as Pendleton drove his ship to its limits trying to catch up. "Commander, I need more power to the main engines and navigational nacelles." "He's getting away," shouted Pendleton. "I can't give you anything more. I'm already giving them all they can take." "Anything more and they'll blow out," cried Eric. "Then blow them out if you have to," shouted Pendleton. He swung wide of a large cloud of debris and then turned back in, hoping to cross just in front of the escaping ship. However, the mysterious ship they were chasing was proving to be far more of a challenge to keep up with than Pendleton had expected.